Ask questions, test models, figure out how to fail forward, because that's where the best solutions are to come from.
Over 1 million members are part of FFA. This is like the most farmer thing ever.
They're passionate about things and they want to see change, and they're going to change the world.
Talk to us about what it takes to pull off a 70,000 person event in downtown Indianapolis. From South Bend to Evansville and everywhere in between, this is Get In, the show focused on the Hoosier State and the incredible stories happening here today. I'm Nate Spengel, founder of Get Indiana, and I will be your host for today's conversation. Before we get into it, just a reminder, this episode of Get In is brought to you by Cluster Truck, Indy's go-to delivery kitchen. If you haven't tried Cluster Truck yet, you are missing out. They have over 100 menu items, everything from hand-stretched pizza to tacos, salads, breakfast burritos, and my personal favorite, their pad thai add chicken. They've got something for everyone, plus delivery is always free. Now here's the best part. If you order right now, by the time this podcast is over, your Cluster Truck order will already be at your door. It's that fast. So whether you're catching a game or just too busy to cook, head to clustertruck.com, order now, and use code INDY, I-N-D-Y, at checkout for 20% off orders of $25 or more. Trust me, your stomach's gonna thank you. Reminder, that code is INDY, I-N-D-Y. Now let's get into the episode. Today I'm joined by Christine White and Larry Grider. Now, Christine is the Chief Program Officer at National FFA, and she's leading initiatives that empower over 1 million student members nationwide to grow in leadership, personal development, and agricultural expertise. Say that 5 times fast. Her work ensures the FFA remains relevant in an evolving industry, connecting tradition with education. A former FFA member herself and state officer all the way from New Jersey, she spent 7 years teaching agriculture education and serving as an FFA advisor in Florida and Virginia before moving to Indiana 20 years ago to begin her role at the National FFA organization. Now, Larry Grider is a 10-year National FFA convention volunteer who's literally helped out in every role from usher to store worker to career success tour chaperone, formerly an FFA member in rural Kentucky. He has a great story about where he grew up at. He brings passion, humor, and firsthand knowledge to help thousands of students have a great experience every year right here in Indianapolis at the National Convention, which is coming up just around the corner. Larry, Christine, welcome to Get In.
Thank you.
Thanks.
People of Indiana are no strangers to FFA. We know, one, there are tons of, we probably know the number. How many FFA chapters are there across the state of Indiana?
I did not look that up.
Well, a lot. There's a lot of them. But we do know that every fall, I believe it's October, correct?
Yep.
Every October, we get to play host to the National FFA Convention right here in Indianapolis, where over 70,000 members of the FFA national organization come for their national convention, which is right around the corner, and I'm very, very excited. I'd love to talk with each of you and learn your entry point into FFA. Christine, if you could also share a little bit about when people think of FFA, they think like drive your tractor to school day and just that piece. But what I've learned from researching for this episode and everything, there's a lot more that goes into it, and it's not just the guys ripping their John Deeres to school every April.
Yeah, so I think when you think about FFA, a lot of it is really, it's an organization that's rooted in agriculture. It's about helping young people find careers in food, fiber, and fuel for the world. And so really helping them to see their potential and how they can really expose and help feed the world. And so when we look at that holistically in ag classes across the country, over 9,000 of them, we have teachers that are helping students find their passion around horticulture, whether it's around ag mechanics, so figuring out how to fix a small engine or lawnmowers, all those trades skills that we need for the world. And that's one of the things that you'll see. But what's predominantly important about FFA, it's about premier leadership, personal growth, and career success. And so we do that through the context of agriculture and really help students figure that out.
Yeah. Larry, could you share what year was your first year involved with the FFA organization as a member?
1966.
1966. So in 1966, what drew you into the FFA organization?
I was born and raised on a farm, row crop and animals. And so it was kind of a natural. My dad told me that if I joined the FFA, he would give me a pig.
Oh, a little bribery? Now we're talking.
So I raised a pig.
Yes, absolutely.
And it was fun. It was fun.
And when you look back from 1966, right, I'm actually 100% positive that the organization has grown and evolved a little bit over the past few years. But what do you credit to the FFA organization for your growth and development through those like formative years when you were growing up on a, like, that was one thing. It's like you grew up on a farm. It's like, do you really want to, like, your hobby to be a farming organization too?
Taught me self-reliance and responsibility because I had a live thing to care for, and there's an end to that. And so the culmination of acquiring, caretaking, and then the resolution of that. I didn't show the pig. I just grew it. And it was kind of fun.
Just fed the family, though. Come on now.
Yeah.
So self-reliance, were there other, like, key character traits that you picked up during your time in FFA as a member? And then, Christine, I'm going to come to you and talk about some of the personal attributes and growth that you got from the FFA organization.
Well, I was a little bit in a barrel because I wasn't aware of the entire national reaches of it. But I did read recently, people in this upcoming convention can be exposed to like 3,000 careers that are based on agriculture.
No way.
So another thing that I do volunteer, I go out to the track here, Indy 500. 3,000 fifth graders come to the track. It's called Education Day. People without knowledge think that, well, if I wanted to have a career in racing, I got to drive a race car. Well, Education Day at the track tells them there's many other things you can do, such as what we're doing today is also part of the education and racing. That you don't have to drive a race car.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to grow a pig to be involved in agriculture.
Yeah. A lot of people think you got to be a farmer and you got to move out to rural Indiana and wake up at 4 a.m. to feed the hogs if you want to be a farmer or be involved in agriculture. And yeah, that's not totally the truth, especially today. There are ag tech companies, there's this, that, and the other thing. Christine, talk to us about your experience within the FFA organization and how that impacted your life so much so that you wanted to continue down that path for the next 20 years.
I was a member in New Jersey, Woodstown, New Jersey. Came from a farm family as well, fruit and vegetables.
See, that's when I think of New Jersey, I don't think of farming.
So I came from the garden state in the southern part, so 450-acre fruit and vegetable farm. And so that's where I kind of got my passion. I'm a second-generation FFA member. My father was a member of the organization too. And, my mom was a teacher and my dad was a farmer. And so as I started doing ag education, I kind of found a love of, like, I can combine being a teacher and agriculture together. And so my trajectory out of high school was an agricultural educator. And so I spent 7 years teaching in Florida and Virginia and Pennsylvania and really just kind of fostering that skills. And then as that opportunity grew, I had an opportunity to come to National FFA and work on leadership curriculum and build things. And so when I think back on my FFA career, the things that I took away as being a member and as a state officer was networking, building relationships, really understanding who I was as a leader and what are the skills that I can bring to the table and how do I amplify those and then be able to instill those in others as I worked with them as an educator and now as we work to develop opportunities for students to engage at the national level.
Yeah, let's talk through what being a member of FFA looks like here in 2025, right? So I think a lot of people, one, they might even confuse 4-H with FFA and get those two crossed of showing your animals versus crop judging and this, that, and the other thing, as well as think, like, I feel like a lot of times you'd ask people, what's FFA mean? It means you drive your tractor to school. Right. And like one day a year, you get to break that out. So take us through some of the different programming and what it would look like if you had a freshman, listeners out there, if you have a freshman, you want to get them exposed to some different organizations, what that entry point looks like. Maybe not even freshman, because I think it's earlier than that. But what that point looks like and what someone's career journey through FFA looks like.
Yeah, so the biggest point that kind of the differentiator about FFA is agricultural education. So a student needs to enroll in an ag class, so whether that's a horticulture class, whether that's an animal systems class, something in that field. And so that's their entry point into the organization. And then at that point in time, they raise their hand that they want to be a member, and then they can find the things that really match for them. And I really like to say that FFA is kind of like to choose your own adventure. There are lots of different opportunities, and students can kind of figure that out.
Yeah,
so if
like
I'm
what are a few of those?
if I'm a livestock person, I can find a place for myself. If I'm someone that really just loves to talk, we're finding that we're students that are doing communication majors. We're having students that are doing their own podcasts, and that are being able to do those pieces. So when we look at agriculture holistically, everybody has a ability to be a part of the organization, has an ability to find a connection to they just have to find that part. Just like Larry was talking about at the racetrack, people just think you have to be a driver. People think that if you're going to be in agriculture, you have to be a farmer. But there's so many support roles to help lift the industry up. And so it's really our job of just trying to help them. And so whether that's coming to national convention and being exposed to all these different companies, whether it's staying at your local entity and figuring out who are those partners in the community that can help us in our chapter, whether it's community service or whether we're fundraising so we can come to national convention, it really just gives them, gives students kind of that driving piece. So it looks a little bit different in every community because it matches what the community actually needs.
We did an episode with Beck's Hybrids up in Atlanta, and that's they are obviously come from a lot of their employees come from farm families and things like that, but they're like accountants and marketing and like other businessy jobs that are in the agricultural sector serving farmers all across America. But it's not necessarily they wake up every day and, hop in the combine or whatever there. Very, very interesting. This is not necessarily an organization just for people who grew up on farms, but you do have to be taking some sort of agriculture class within high school. Where does the point start? Like when are you old enough that you could be involved with the FFA organization?
Yeah, so from the organization standpoint, we have membership as early as 5th grade. So it just really depends upon if your middle schools are offering it as an opportunity. We see a lot of the opportunities start at that 9th grade level, high school. So it really just depends on the community and how they embrace it. But we're seeing a larger growing number of middle schools kind of starting that formative years, kind of exploring. And then when they launch into their high school career, they're kind of all feet in and they're really absorbing it and moving forward.
Do you guys know like the history behind FFA? Like why this started and when this started and then it's transitioned to Indianapolis? Because I don't believe it's always been headquartered here.
Nope. So the organization itself, we're almost getting ready to celebrate 100 years. So it originated in 1928 in Kansas City, Missouri. 13 farm boys got together and said it would be really cool to have an organization to help those of us who are in agriculture also connect outside of just doing traditional farming. And since that point, we're now over 1 million members, 1.4 million, that we are kind of working through different components, and that's where it's changed. Our national convention was in Kansas City for a long period of time.
My dad's gonna love that one. He went to national convention in Kansas City back in the day. He told me some fun stories.
And then at that point in time, we moved our convention to Louisville, Kentucky, and we were in Louisville for almost a decade. And then we came here to Indianapolis, which also wasn't where our headquarters was originally. We were headquartered out of Alexandria, Virginia, just outside of D.C., because we had connections with the Department of Education at that point in time. And so we then moved convention and we moved our headquarters here to Indianapolis and have been here really ever since.
So you're telling me there are 1.04 million members of the FFA organization in all 50 states. And wait, where else?
Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands.
You can't forget those.
Yeah, can't forget those. U.S.
Over
territories. 1
million members are part of FFA. That's just like this year. That's like a snapshot currently.
That's snapshot of the 24-25 school year.
That is amazing. How many members were part of your like local chapter when you were growing up, Larry?
Probably had about 30.
30?
Yeah, in that high school.
That's pretty. I mean, to think about that you're just one small node on this larger organization that all started from 13 farm boys getting together back in 1928.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Just like, you know what? Farming's lonely. It's hard. Like, at least we could have a couple friends to go through this with us. And today, I mean, like almost 100 years later, it's grown to over 1 million annual members. Is that what you'd say?
Yep.
That's wild. Well, one of the big pinnacle events put on, you talked about how it's been in Kansas City, down to Louisville, now we're the hosts here in Indianapolis, is National Convention. And Larry, that's where your journey with FFA comes back full circle, is volunteering there. And we're going to get to that in a second.
Sure.
But let's talk about what National Convention is. Obviously, we see it when you drive around the city and you see all the blue corduroy jackets and you're like, huh, the farmers are in town.
Yeah.
A lot of doors being held open, very polite young kids downtown. You love to see it. Talk to us about what National Convention is and what it means for these kids in their FFA journey.
So it's a year-long preparation, but for these young people, it's a time for us to celebrate them. Most of those students are coming to Indianapolis to compete nationally. So whether that's on a project that they've had back home or a competitive event that's taking place here in the city. So it's an opportunity for them to compete and be recognized for their efforts. It's also a time for them to walk through our expo, which is, if you think about the Indianapolis Convention Center, all of those halls are filled with ag companies that are in colleges and universities that are trying to help young people discover their future in those pieces. Convention's about a time for a lot of our students to leave their hometown for the very first time. There are multiple stories of young people that they get on an escalator for the very first time when they go into the Circle Center Mall or they hit the airport. And it's just, when you think about that, because I think about the opportunities that I had as a young person, I got to do some of those pieces. But some of these individuals, this is the very first time that they're having those, what I would say, real world experiences for themselves. And so it's kind of cool.
Well, let it be known, anyone from FFA, any kids watching that are coming here for the first time, not all airports are like this. We have the best one. Like, just let it be known. You're just getting treated with the best airport in the country.
Yeah.
They're not all that way. That is so cool. I never thought about that. Like riding an escalator, like a lot of times, we're from a small town and, it's not like you weren't going to Indianapolis every other weekend. It was like, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
And so how many, obviously chaperones, mentor, like educators, a lot of people come together. How many members from the kid perspective are coming to town?
So we usually have about 50,000 of our 70,000 that are young people that are coming in, and then you have the rest that have to wrangle them.
So they have to absolutely. In true farming terminology, it's an industry term. You got to wrangle them. Talk to us about what it takes to pull off a 70,000 person event in downtown Indianapolis.
National FFA staff is about 114 people.
You are
114.
dangerously outnumbered on 70,000.
Yeah. So when you look at that, it's pulling the community in. It's our volunteers. It's really pulling constituents, business and industry stepping up. We have a local organizing committee in the city of Indianapolis with Visit Indy that really step up, and that's from everything from public safety to being able to find career success tours so that students are able to engage and find those other different opportunities. So it's really a citywide experience and bringing them into our planning process and helping us to deliver. I mean, when you look at the landscape that we have, you figure every hotel downtown to the fairgrounds and then in a 50-mile radius is contracted by the organization, about 120
Wait,
plus
what?
more. Yeah.
For hotels?
For hotels to house the amount of people that we have.
No way.
We have people who are staying up at Purdue that will drive into Indianapolis because that's where whatever their bubble or what feels comfortable for them. But we have people that are driving, 45 minutes to an hour to come in for a convention for the day. Because of where they've decided to put their housing.
That'd be wild.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, that's just like the impact that you guys have when you're bringing 70,000 people to town. Yeah. Well, one thing that it takes to pull off a large scale event is volunteers. And Larry, that's where your path ended up crossing back with FFA from your time in Kentucky as part of the organization. How did you get hooked up to volunteer with the FFA, and what was appealing about that to you?
I'm a member of an organization here in town called the Indianapolis Ambassadors. That's what we're designed to do, is to volunteer for the events that come into town to help not-for-profit organizations fund their mission. It was just a natural for me to see when 70,000 people come to town, you pay attention. And one thing that I noticed is people are coming Georgia Street between the convention center and the field house. I get these comments all the time from the adults who see these people once a year. So they act like they have parents. That's really a profound statement because a lot of people don't act like they have parents. These people do.
Okay, so I'm a high school wrestling coach. I always put this in wrestling terms. And it's like the idea of 50,000 high school wrestlers in one place, I'm out. That's not like, I don't want to do that. Like, no chance. Like, we have a team of 30, and like sometimes 30, I'm like, I want to pull out my hair. But like, so kudos to you all for making that happen. Kudos to you. So Larry, what was your first experience when you stepped up to volunteer? What was the first gig that you got?
I was monitoring the expo, the trade show, and got to see all the different companies that were sponsoring the convention, and got to talk to a few of those people. While I was doing that, I also had my own business of promotional marketing, and I could have some inside conversations with a few of those and made a few connections that way. So
Hey, there it is.
doubled up on my time.
You know why? Because he learned about networking back in 1966. Come on.
You're right. You got me.
Okay, so you were working but then you just kept coming back. How many years have you volunteered for FFA?
At least till since 2010. Wow. At least then. And there may have been time. There was a couple of years that the convention changed back to Louisville and then came back to Indianapolis. I just knew it was an experience that I enjoy every year. I enjoy seeing those people.
I love that you call them people too. It's like you're talking about kids, right? Like all the like high school kids that come to town that are like being respectful.
Well, like I said, they're a little more mature than your average teenager.
What are some of the different roles? Because I mean, a piece of this is if you're listening out there, like there might be a role for you in regards to volunteering for FFA that isn't necessarily hall monitor. Like, what are some of the different? You talked about career success ambassadors. You talked about some of the different roles that you're riding a bus to Lafayette to the agriculture school. Take us through some of those opportunities.
Sometimes it's just being a greeter at the airport. We need people to welcome our colleagues or our students as they're coming in. So we have those. We have individuals that are throughout the convention center just helping direct and help students to find their way. Because obviously it's a big building and they're not sure where they're heading a lot of the time. We do have the career success tours. We also have our National Day of Service. So we have volunteers that will ride the bus with students that'll be going to Gleaners or up into Zionsville with the Maple Farms that's up there, and they are a part of that opportunity to.
Wait, so then you take 50,000 kids out around the community to volunteer?
Yeah, so about 4,000 shifts that we have available throughout the community between 10 to 12 locations that students are giving back to the city of Indianapolis, helping nonprofits accelerate their mission.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how long is the conference?
Starts on a Wednesday and we end on a Saturday.
So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So they're in town for like 5 days, roughly.
Yep.
And one of those days is spent in service. To our city.
Yeah. So it's either to our city, or the other piece too is that we've, since we're not able to get everybody out and about in the city, we do a service project on our expo floor. And so last year, one of our service projects was making pot holders for Meals on Wheels. So as they were delivering the meals at Christmas, they were also being able to give them a little gift as a part of that. And so it was a pot holder for warming up their meals. This
is like the most farmer thing ever, right? It's like we're gonna host them. Like they're gonna pay money to come to our city, spend their you spend dollars, like whatever. And then as a thank you, they're gonna go out and volunteer in our community. Yeah. Like, come on. Does it get much better than that?
When you look at the motto of the organization, the last line is living to serve. And we try to exemplify that no matter where we go. So whether the serving in your community or serving when you're out at a national event, how do we give back and make it better than where we were when we got there?
One of the pieces that's also interesting, a lot of you talked about kids getting away from home for maybe the first time. Like, they have a little bit of freedom for 5 days. Yeah. What do you see? Like, what does programming look like? Like, they come in on Wednesday, and one day is spent in service, but what do the other days look like?
Yeah, so we use Lucas Oil Stadium for convention sessions. So we have our national officers who are giving motivational speeches. We bring in guest speakers that help to motivate and uplift.
Are there any of your favorite speakers that you've had?
A former national officer that has gone out and just really related to the students and was able to bring a really good home message around how do you just give back? How do you lead? How do you serve? Yeah. And so it was just a really good opportunity for, I think, messages that we don't always hear, because sometimes we always feel like we have to have the big name to be able to deliver that message. But sometimes it's you just have that home, humble conversation and make that connection with young people. And so that was a pretty exciting opportunity, not only for that person, but also then to connect with the students.
I mean, are we going to get there's a Hoosier that has great conversations around all things farming. I think he might need to be a national convention speaker. Yeah. Just a Jackson thing? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
The little John Deere
Oh,
boy?
yes.
Jackson,
yes.
he's from Northern Indiana.
Yeah.
He would be the ultimate speaker.
Might need to get him as a social influencer.
I'm gonna will this into existence. I have no say, no power or anything, but Jackson, you should make some DMs happen and become somehow involved in National Convention for FFA. Because he is like the future president of your organization one day.
Yeah.
He's the chief tractor officer at John Deere.
I know. Yeah.
Have you seen this kid, Larry?
I'm not.
He is, I don't know, can't be more than 10 or 11 years old. I think he's 10. 10-year-old boy. He's from Northern Indiana, and he knows everything there is to know about all things tractor. He is a John Deere expert. He just bought his first combine. They just made a video about him because he's worked with John Deere, and he did a whole promo marketing thing with them where he was their chief tractor officer. He lives just outside of Fort Wayne. One of the coolest kids. It was down at the state fair. He just carries himself with the swagger of a 70-year-old man. Yeah. And it is incredible. I could watch his videos all day long. They just you talk about things that give you hope in the next generation, and kids, Jackson, keep up the good work, man. That's one of the ones. It's great. Pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, so I totally commandeered that because I had to talk about Jackson. Yeah. But you have Lucas Oil is where some of the programming, so you have speakers come in, sessions like that. What else are they doing?
So then they're over in ICC at our expo where we have over 350 different organizations that come in.
Are there any organizations that are at the expo hall that we wouldn't think about? Obviously you think I don't know if John Deere or whoever's there, but the big farming brands, but are there other brands that are interested in agriculture that we might not think about?
Yeah, so Microsoft is one that is there. And so they will be with us again this year, but they're one of our corporate partners, and they're helping us to bring AI and technology into the classroom through a program called Farm Beats. So think about sensors for moisture and soil and those pieces, and they've created a kit that we are providing to teachers and students to be able to talk about how do you know when you need to water you can sit in your recliner and look and see what the data is telling you, and it's it's time to water, so I hit the button and it starts to water. So
I need that. Yeah. I can't keep anything alive.
Yeah.
I've had 7 houseplants and none of them have come to fruition.
Yeah, you got to water them. That's a key post.
I did that. I had one. Oh my gosh.
I overwatered too. So
all of a sudden I was it started to die, and I was what's going on? And I looked down to the bottom. It was floating.
Yeah,
it was floating in its pot. And I was overwatered, not good. So I might need to invest in some of these sensors.
Yeah.
Okay, so Microsoft's a big partner. Other technology partners or anything interesting?
Yep. So we're seeing some other technology partners coming in. We also see a lot of organizations trade organizations. So you start to see the linemen that are putting the electric lines in. They're coming in because they our Army has a huge footprint in our expo, and they bring all the bells and whistles, but they also bring their veterinarian segment, because you wouldn't necessarily think about it, but they actually do have those different segments, and so they bring that in to kind of let our students see if you really like animals, you can also come into the Army and you can have a connection from that point too.
Do they do the pull-up challenge?
They do. They do.
Do you know how many pull-ups? I want to know what the winning number at the FFA convention is for pull-ups. Has to be a lot.
I've walked by before and they're going pretty fast, and I'm
I mean, that was always the kid in gym class. We had the presidential fitness test back in the day, and it was the kid who grew up baling hay. You did not want to catch him on the pull-up bar.
No.
You could never beat him.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay, so you have Army there. That's really interesting.
Yeah. And then throughout the convention center, students are engaging in leadership workshops too. So we do have that as a part of and then we have entertainment. So we have a rodeo that comes in. We'll have a concert again this year.
Who's headlining?
I'm not at liberty to share.
Awesome headliner coming. It's insane. You guys will never believe it.
Yeah.
You have entertainment. You have the rodeo. What else are they doing?
Our chapters really just get engaged with the city. And so it's falling over Halloween. So I guarantee that a lot of them will be going out to the Scream Parks and the different pieces. You will see that you can't get, if you're wanting to do an escape room, they are all booked up during our week because it's things that you don't normally get to see. The other piece that's really cool is that some of our chapters, they recognize Indianapolis as a food town. And so they will I have a story of a teacher that they will fundraise to take their students to St. Elmo's and buy them, a glorious dinner.
And get them the shrimp cocktail.
And get everything bells and whistles. And these young people are and then they see the bill afterwards and they're oh my gosh, from that perspective because they're like, it's just a steak. We have steak coming off the farm. It's like whatever. But it's
world famous.
But it's world famous. And I think the pieces is just exposing them to different culture in that aspect of like a fancy restaurant, dressing up, having to use all the silverware that's on the table appropriately. And it's not just going to the burger joint down the street.
Yeah. Are there any like hot spots that throughout Indianapolis that the members of FFA love?
So one of the biggest hot spots is Steak and Shake.
I knew you were going to say that.
It doesn't matter what time of day. They are around the block. They will stand in line for milkshakes and burgers.
Isn't that like what a wild blending of individuals at that Steak and Shake, at 10 p.m. in downtown Indianapolis.
And if you want to find somebody, you pretty much go there. It's like there's times when I'm looking for people and I'm like, I bet you that the Steak and Shake. So I'll run down there and that's the next thing you find.
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
City Barbecue is also one of the places that really welcomes them.
City Barbecue. Okay. Any other spots that are just like, oh, the FFA crew loves this?
Yeah, I think the other parts is the scream parks is what I see a lot of just because I've been following some things on the teacher pages on Facebook and they're like, which ones are the good ones? Like, where should we be really going and doing these pieces and engaging? So
yeah, did we just create? Circle City Mall has been needing they're doing some renovations.
Yeah.
Pop-up Scream Park at Circle City during FFA convention weekend. Someone can you could make $50,000 with that idea. You're welcome, team. We just gave that to you. Larry, all the different places that you volunteered, from the convention floor to riding the bus, doing all things, what's been the most memorable for you and what's been your most memorable experience volunteering with the National FFA organization?
Recently, I do the success tours, and we were talking about places that people would not necessarily recognize as being in a career. One of the tours we took a couple of years ago was at a lab called Universal Flavors, and they create flavors for food. So imagine, you have to know chemistry, biology, you have to know all your sciences, but it's also ag-related because who doesn't eat? That was also, and it was a connection that perhaps people would not understand until they experience it. You're talking about a scream room. I went to one of those last year, and a reason that it existed is because of the changing, the fluid landscape of acreage of what it requires to be a farmer. If you only have 5 acres and you're a little bit outside of Indianapolis, you can have a scream park because you're reutilizing land that used to grow corn. Now you're growing screams.
Yeah.
One of my buses go to the School of Agriculture at Purdue was very enlightening. We went to the engineering department and saw where they had a John Deere on a power run to see exactly how much horsepower that it was producing. Went to the economics labs to help teach people what is your budget for the year. It's not just throwing seeds in the ground and hope they come up and yay. It's, can you survive the year when there is no income, and what happens, what are the variables that's going to control your income, and should you have a grain bin? Those are the things that were discussed during that.
That's one of the craziest, when you get into the economics of farming, it's wild. So it's like you put your seed in the ground and you grow it, right? And then by the time that you're harvesting it, to put it in the grain bins, you got to buy next year's seed. So then you're out 2 years worth of seed funded and you've sold 0 things so far.
Right.
It is a wildly complex business. We've had, from Beck's, some other different, we had Indiana Dairy on talking through what it takes to build a farm in 2025, and it's hard. It's very, very challenging. And because you have to, think about, you got to know about marketing seed and or marketing crops and making money. You're kind of like a commodities trader, as well as a farmer, as well as a welder, as well as an electrician, as well as a fabricator, as well as HR or whatever it is. You have so many hats to wear. It's crazy. So it is interesting to get that exposure and to see, I feel like a lot of times too, if a kid has grown up on a family farm, they've seen farming, but they've seen one school of thought maybe. And knowing that there are other people across the country that might do stuff a little bit differently, and sharing some of those ideas, just like I'm sure happened with those 13 original founders back in 1928, when one of them found the best way to water their crops back in the day. And, share some ideas and swap some stories. What kind of individuals are you looking for, and what kind of opportunities can they help out with when it comes to the National FFA convention?
We've got lots of different opportunities. Our volunteer site is available on our FFA convention site. So if you just look up FFA convention, you'll see the volunteer site, and it lists all the different tasks that are available. So whether that's hopping on a career success tour, and you can see all the different tours that we'll be doing and kind of pick the one that matches you, whether it's being in the convention center down in the heart of where all the kids are and wanting to engage that way. So really there's just a lot of opportunities, volunteer shifts, different days. Primary shifts are on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then a little bit on Saturday as we can wrap up.
If there was one volunteer spot that you would recommend that like maybe could make the biggest impact, or just, you know, give someone a good perspective of what a National FFA is, what would you recommend?
I would recommend probably a career success tour, kind of jumping on a bus, kind of having that engagement, but then you get to kind of see agriculture throughout Indiana too, and so you kind of get the blessing of both together.
Final thing we're gonna wrap out with, kind of talking through all things FFA, is farming is hard. This next generation of farmers is so crucial because the family farm is unfortunately shifting, right? Like, there's less family-owned farms. There's more corporate-owned farms. Like, it's just getting bigger and bigger, and there's more people to feed. There's less food to feed them. Like, all these different things, right? Talk about this, the impact that this generation can have on our agricultural landscape for the next several decades, and the basis that's being laid through FFA, just like the outlook for the future when it comes to all things agriculture in America.
So I think from my perspective is when you look at agriculture and you look at FFA members, I really look at them as problem solvers. They are the solution makers for the future. Through ag education, we'll give them some basic foundational pieces, but they're an acquisitive bunch. And when you look at Gen Z that's coming up and Generation Alpha right behind them, they are really looking at how can we solve the world's problems? How can we go in there and make those pieces? And so I think a lot of what we're doing as an organization is how are we helping students to be innovative, creative, ask questions, test models, figure out how to fail forward, because that's where the best solutions are to come from. And that's where we're seeing individuals who are going into entrepreneurship, that they are finding there's a problem that we need to solve. They find a ability to do it, and then they sell it to a corporate partner to make money, from those pieces, and then they go back to the innovation of something else and being able to do that. So I think that's what we're going to find that's going to really feed and fuel the industry moving forward, is young people who are passionate about agriculture and wanting to try to find a place to really make a difference.
Out of every guest I've ever had on the show where we've had a conversation about Gen Z or Gen Alpha or whatever, I think that you just gave the greatest compliment. And it might have to deal with the amount of the quality of young people in which you spend time around. But a lot of people they are negative. Gen X this, or Gen Z Gen Z this and Gen Z that. Yeah. And like the way you just talked about it was like, oh, I have hope. That's
not saying they don't get off. They need to get off their devices and all the other pieces that makes that generation a little bit more questionable. But they really do. I mean, they're passionate about things and they want to see change, and they're going to change the world.
Amen.
A term that I really appreciate hearing you say is fail forward. We can use that.
And anyone who claims that they have the whole thing figured out or whatever is not being truthful anyway. But if you can teach that younger, to be like, you don't have to know whatever you're going to do right when you graduate high school or whatever it is. Like, you're going to figure it out. As long as you're failing forward and you get back up and you keep going, good things are going to happen. Both of you, as you think about how the organization has shifted since your time in it, Larry, what's your hope for the next 20 years of FFA?
If the parents keep growing the kids the way they are now that attend the FFA convention, I think we're in a pretty good spot. I think if they take some time away from their devices and try to stay off social media and don't let other people make decisions for them and give them their self-worth, because they should do that on their own. I'm pretty optimistic. There's
a place for everybody in agriculture. There's a place for everybody in FFA. And so how do we create that warm and welcoming environment that they can find their place? When I think back on my high school career, and I didn't fit in with the athletes. I didn't fit in with the band kids, but I found my home in agriculture, and I turned it into a lifelong career. And so I think that's my hope is that young people get exposed, they find their niche, and they find a place within the industry of agriculture.
I love it. We've come to the end of the show where we have a couple fun segments for you guys. This is going to be fun because both of you are not originally from Indiana. So you are both Hoosiers by choice. You chose to make this place your home. So this question is brought to you by our friends at JC Hart. They are a leader in creating enjoyable living experiences at apartment complexes all across Indiana and beyond. Check them out at homeisjchart.com. My question for you both, why do you call Indiana home?
Well, I swam across the river from Kentucky, and I don't swim very well, so I never found my way back.
Yeah, there it is.
I got a job when I was here. I was being recruited while I was staying in Louisville, and I just really liked the environment. The fact that Indianapolis is the center of the state. Most roads radiate from Indianapolis, so you can get to almost anywhere. Probably a little left of center politically, but I do think that the foresight of the people who are in charge of creating our environment, our social, local, and state environment, has done a really good job making Indianapolis as vibrant as it is and as accepting as it is.
Heck yeah.
And so I grew up on the East Coast, moved here for work.
You're very polite for an East Coaster, I will say.
Thank you. I think it's been kind of what I was going to, I think Hoosier hospitality has really rubbed off on me. And so I think that's one of the things that has made it so enjoyable here. Like, it's definitely a slower pace, but people are just so kind and so nice. And it doesn't matter where you go, you run into individuals that will, are willing to help and pitch in and those pieces. And so I think that's one of the pieces that I really found that I've liked. I've settled into the Zionsville area. It's very much a close culture. Individuals, know everybody, which is a good thing. But I think that's just what has really, besides the job, being here headquartered in Indianapolis, I just have really found community.
Time and time again, we hear about the community that Indianapolis and Indiana has. Hoosier hospitality is a real thing. In the vein of Hoosier hospitality, we're about to welcome, how many of these, so 70,000 people come in for the convention. How many of them are from out of state?
The majority are coming in from out of state. So
we're welcoming, let's say 70,000 guests.
Yeah.
If you're in town for the FFA National Convention, what are the things that you need to do while you're in Indianapolis?
Take advantage of the career success tours. They give you an opportunity to really immerse yourself into the city. Last year we brought was the IMPD. They opened up their mounted patrol, and so the students got to go behind the scenes to see the stables and all of those pieces. And you would think about an inner city horses. It doesn't really mix with a city and horses, but yet they were able to see those pieces. So I think that's the thing that the beauty is about this city, is that agriculture is all throughout. And so I think helping our students to see that you can be in a metropolitan area and there's stuff here for people to do.
I do wonder, where are they importing that hay from?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who's got the IMPD hay contract?
Yeah.
Interesting. Are there other recommendations when, these new people are coming that you guys love about the city of Indianapolis that you're like, hey, I hope you stop by here?
Well, we are the racing capital of the world. Maybe you didn't know that. But
I may have heard that before.
And we have the world's largest children's museum that's not made just for children. That's a phenomenal place. I visit there often, but they just renovated something like $20 million of the museum at the Indy 500 at the track.
It's so cool.
You got to go.
Yeah.
You just got to go.
Yeah, I do. That would be a cool, if while you're in town, check out. The IMS Museum is sick. The new one is awesome. Are there any other favorite last second, this is their welcome to Indianapolis? You got to check out. So, not that Steak and Shake's not great. We love Steak and Shake, but if there are other spots in the greater vicinity to check out.
I mean, I think when you look at just the way the city is structured, you've got the Idle Georgia Museum, you've got the State Museum. We have a lot of students that'll go to the zoo. So you've got a lot of things that are downtown that are walkable. And so I think that's a good opportunity for students to see different things, culturally wise, but educationally as well. A lot will go to Spaghetti Factory and some of those places because it's just unique. Even though it's a chain, but it's just got a different feel here in the city.
It does have an interesting feel to it.
Those places.
I could just imagine how many of them go to Dick's Last Resort right there. Yes. Just get bullied for 2 hours by their hostess. That's so funny. Yeah. All right, I love it. We're excited to welcome the National FFA Convention into town. We have the same 3 questions that we ask every guest that comes on the show, where we talk about the Hoosier State. The first question, Larry, we're going to start with you. Larry, what's something the world needs to know about Indiana?
That we are very convenient to be in. And if you want to go somewhere else, it's pretty easy to be somewhere else. I think we're 50 miles outside the center of the population of the United States. Our founders thought enough of the state and transportation that all roads lead to Indianapolis. So
there it is. It's not us getting other places. It's you getting here. That's what we're looking for. I love it. I do love that. It is interesting if you think about our original state capital down in Corydon, right? Vincennes was the capital of the territory. Like if that would have been a lot more challenging. Imagine living in the northeast part of the state and having to go all the way down to court. Like take you 5 hours to get to the capital. It's crazy. I do think that's the layout, and they must have been very tactical putting it all together.
I think if you're coming here, you're going to have Hoosier hospitality. And so I really think that's one of those pieces that regardless of what you're looking for, you're going to find it here in Indianapolis, in Indiana. And so whether you're wanting to see rural lifestyle, you want to see urban experiences, you can have it all in a very short distance. You can see all sorts of things. So I think the city itself is welcoming, and I think that's probably Indianapolis itself is probably one of the best kept secrets in the world, because the hospitality, the ability, the all roads lead to, it's just a really cool town to be in.
I did not pay them for these answers. Let it be known.
Yeah.
one of the things too is I believe there are 13 hotels that are connected by an inside walkway. Imagine in January, February, I don't want to go to a cold climate. You don't have to.
Yeah, and I think more like these new ones are going to be connected in there too. So it'll be like 50. Some of them, they have like a crazy stat where it's like 3,000 or 4,000 hotel rooms are all connected. Like we are a really good host. I will pat ourselves on the back for that one.
Absolutely.
You go, Indianapolis.
Absolutely.
All right, this is the time where you guys get to shed some light on a piece of the state that you love that more people need to know about, and it can be a place, it could be a restaurant, it could be a sense, a feeling, whatever it is. It's your opportunity to enlighten us about what Indiana is to you. So, can I ask, what is a hidden gem in Indiana?
The hometown I'm living in, Zionsville. It's a hidden gem in the fact that it's kind of like the ultimate hallmark city or town, where you have the brick streets and you have the experiences and the opportunities. And I think one of the places that I like to spend a little bit of time in the summer is Anne-Marie's Flower Farm. She's just a little bit outside the city. You can go pick flowers, create a bouquet, beautiful. And so you just get to kind of match that love of just someone is growing something and you're able to kind of go out there and pick it and then head down to the brick streets and, enjoy, an evening on the town experiencing what Zionsville has to offer.
That's a really good one. I haven't heard it. What's it called?
It's Anne-Marie's Flower Farm. It's just a little bit north of Zionsville, but it's just an opportunity to go. You pick flowers. They're open through the summer months, and you can walk away with a beautiful bouquet.
I'm going to need some brownie points from that one. That's a good one. Yeah. And I will say, Zionsville sometimes is like the forgotten north side suburb. Like a lot of people who live like the Carmel, the Westfield, the Fishers, a lot of love. Zionsville's over there just doing their own thing in Boone County. All right, Larry, what is a hidden gem in Indiana?
Eagle Creek Park. It's an urban park. It's one of the country's largest. It has 2 golf courses, a reservoir. It has Rick's Boat Yard.
Fantastic.
Best place in town to watch the sunset.
Yeah.
And it has many hiking trails. It has a zoom line. Many times a year, you almost have to kick the deer out of the way because they're so popular. And they sometimes call them during the before it. And that's on the northwest side of town.
Yeah.
It's very easy access.
I ran like 10 miles out there not too long ago, and it was like all different terrain. I had no idea where I was. I felt like I was down in Brown County almost.
Well, just our state park system has such a variety of state parks. From dunes, it's almost like you're on a seashore.
It is. It's crazy.
And the thing that's unique about that, you're sitting on, or you're walking on sand that's 95 degrees, and you get into the water that's 60 degrees.
Yeah,
that's quite a jolt. State park system is very good here in the state.
All right, final question of the day. This is where you get to share the love, helps us source new guests, or just learn about other people across our state that are doing fantastic things. Larry, we'll start with you and we'll end here. Who's a Hoosier that we need to keep on our radar? Someone who's doing big things.
If she would ever get healthy, I think Caitlin Clark is.
Amen. I mean, not only doing big things for our city, not only doing big things for our state, doing big things for sports in general, women's sports, society, like just sport in general.
Exactly.
Like, oh my gosh, she is just. I don't know how she's captured lightning in a bottle, but it's incredible, and we are hoping that she gets back healthy and we can have a full charged into the postseason.
She can do easily things on the court that other WNBA players never saw before, and that's a reason.
Yeah.
Logo threes is part of it. But her general management of her team, knowing who's going to go where and how long is it going to take them to get to that point so I can get the ball at the right spin, at the right speed, at the right condition so they can have a layup. I mean, nobody else does that like she does.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, like physics and geometry are just like...
Exactly.
There's a whole project.
She's been doing it since she's 6 years old.
That's wild. Yeah. That's one, again, another Hoosier by choice kind of, I mean, like somebody's choice, draft choice or what. But she chose to, and now she's here, kind of like the Iowa. There is a standing invitation if Caitlin ever wants to come on the show and talk about whose corn's better, Indiana versus Iowa. We'll talk about it. Rounding it out, this is the moment. Who are we sharing the love with? Who's a Hoosier we need to keep on our radar? Someone who's doing big things.
FFA members. So when you look at Indiana FFA, they're their own association. They have members throughout the state that are doing really big things. And so I think when you look at young people who are passionate about agriculture, willing to serve and give back to the community, we're going to see stars rise out of that are going to be, the next mayors for their communities, going to be the next big thing, whether it's on a talent stage somewhere or an opportunity for them to really thrive and change the world. So all my bets are on FFA members and how they will help improve and change the world for all of us.
Incredible. Full stop. That's the end of the episode. If we're invest your money into FFA now, and they're up and to the right. Christine, Larry, thank you guys so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing both of your individual journeys through the FFA organization, from member in 1966 all the way to volunteering for the last 15 plus years. I think that's incredible. And I think that it's people like you that are ambassadors for our city that just help us attract all of these great events. Christine, thank you so much for your experience helping guide this next generation of future farmers of America, obviously, but also just individuals that have a passion for agriculture and a passion for solving problems. This was an incredible episode. I learned so much. 1928, started with 13 farmers out on the East Coast, correct?
Most of them were on the East Coast that went to Kansas City.
An incredible organization that welcomes over 70,000 people to our great city annually. For the national convention. I'm excited. It's coming up around the corner. What are the dates on that so we can know?
Yeah, so it's October 29th through November 1st.
It's going to be a very great Halloween in Indianapolis for all FFA members. I appreciate y'all coming on. Good luck with the convention, and we will talk soon. Thank you for listening to this episode of Get In. If you like what you heard, make sure you leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. This show is made possible by our friends up at Sweetwater. Whether you're looking to start a podcast or take your content to the next level, click the link in the description to see all of my gear recommendations at sweetwater.com. If you want a behind-the-scenes look at everything we're doing across the state, make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Nate Spangle. Thank you so much for listening and being part of what makes the Hoosier State great. We'll see you next time here on Get In.